Starting momentarily. Apologize for the delay.
It was like spinning and it couldn't find the page. I'm in court.
Here. No, don't turn them on. Okay. Can you help Stacy or not with what she's doing? I mean, Sherry?
We're good, Mayor.
We're good?
See how long we stay?
Okay, good evening. We are going to call to order the meeting of April 23rd, 2024, Daytona Beach Shores Commission meeting. Sherry, can you take a roll, please?
Mayor Miller,
I'm here.
Vice Mayor Bliss,
Here.
Commissioner Carter,
Here.
Commissioner Thomas,
Here.
Commissioner Dembinski.
Here.
Thank you. Reverend Bob, if you could come up, please. Reverend Bob from the Drive-In Christian Church. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you, and I invite everyone to stand if you're able and join me in this invocation. Oh, gracious God, we look around and we are amazed at the beauty of this day and the beauty of your creation that you give us to enjoy. We especially thank you for this place where we live and work and have our being, and welcome so many people from around the world to our little corner of it, and to share hospitality with those who come and go and those who live here all the time. In this moment now, let us be mindful especially of those in our community who are suffering from loss of loved ones, from loneliness, from other things that maybe they try to hide from their neighbors. But if we open our eyes and see those things, perhaps we can extend our love and care to them, inspire our compassion, and inspire your wisdom to be amongst us in this moment now as our commission meets and as they make decisions for the best of the future of this city. Be with those who serve this city with their talents and with their passion. And be with all of us as we seek to make tomorrow a little bit better than today. For we ask these things in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend Bob. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Okay, this evening we do not have any items of presentation or public notice, so we're going to go right to the approval of the minutes from the City Council from April 9th, 2024. Do I hear a motion to accept those minutes?
I so move.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you. Are there anything that we need to remove or change from those minutes before we take a vote? Okay, if not, Sherry, please take a vote on that.
Vice Mayor Bliss,
Yes.
Commissioner Dembinski,
Yes.
Commissioner Carter,
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas.
Yes.
Mayor Miller.
Yes, thank you. Okay, and we have 6 items this evening on our consent agenda. If I hear no motion to pull any of those, can I have an approval to approve those consent agenda items?
Also move.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Okay, do we have any discussion? Not Sherry, can you take a roll on that, please?
Yes, ma'am.
Are we
Sorry,
okay?
my computer's just acting slow.
Thank you. And for those of you listening online, we're having a little bit of computer issues, so we might be running a little bit behind. Please bear with us.
Commissioner Thomas,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Bliss,
Yes.
Commissioner Carter,
Yes.
Commissioner Dembinski,
Yes.
Mayor Miller.
Yes, thank you. Okay, we're going to move on to old business, and could our community service director come up? Okay, under old business, we have 3 ordinances that we had first reading on last meeting. They're all voluntary annexation, so we have Attorney Waters with us today. So Attorney Waters, can you read ordinance 2024-08 for us, please?
Certainly, Madam Mayor. This is item number 8A, ordinance number 2024-08. An ordinance of the City of Daytona Beach Shores of Volusia County, Florida, relating to voluntary annexation of real property located at 3635 Cardinal Boulevard, short parcel identification number 6302-05-09-0041, together with associated right-of-ways in accordance with Section 171.044 Florida statutes, providing for legislative and administrative findings, redefining the boundaries of the city, providing for legal, effective, and implementing administrative actions, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for non-codification, and setting an effective date. Madam Mayor, that was the second reading of this ordinance.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Director?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Commissioners, Vice Mayor. For the record, Stuart Cruz, Community Services Director. So this is the second reading for the voluntary annexation of the property located at 3635 Cardinal Boulevard, which you may have remembered from the last presentation. It is a fourplex. All the statutory requirements for annexation have been met. We do have a representative here for the owners from the Storch Law Firm. Again, this is just a second reading, and all the statutory requirements have been met. Staff is recommending approval. If there's any questions for me, I'll be happy to take those.
Thank you. Before we move on, anyone in the audience have anything that they would like to say or any questions on 3635 Cardinal Boulevard? Okay, if not, do I hear a motion to accept ordinance 2024-08?
I so move.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Okay, and any discussion or any further questions for our community service director? Okay, if not, Sherry, can you take a roll on this, please?
Vice Mayor Clitus?
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Commissioner Carr?
Yes.
Commissioner Dembinski?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes, thank you. Okay, now we'll go on to ordinance 2024-09. Attorney Waters, can you read that one for us, please?
Certainly, this is item number 8B on the agenda, ordinance number 2024-09, an ordinance of the City of Daytona Beach Shores, Volusia County, Florida, relating to voluntary annexation of real property located at 129 Esmeralda Avenue, short parcel identification number 5335-01-05-0360, together with associated right-of-ways in accordance with Section 171.044 Florida statutes, providing for legislative and administrative findings, redefining the boundaries of the city, providing for legal effect and implementing administrative actions, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for non-codification, and setting an effective date, and that was the second reading.
Thank you very much. Director?
Again, Madam Mayor, this is second reading for voluntary annexation of 129 Esmeralda Avenue, which has a single-family residential structure on the property. I don't see the property owner here tonight.
I'm your significant other right here.
Okay, yes, I do.
Well, welcome. We're glad to have you in the Shores.
All the statutory requirements for annexation, voluntary annexation have been met. Staff is recommending approval.
Great, thank you. Again, this is a second reading for this property at 129 Esmeralda Avenue. Is there anyone in the audience this evening that has anything they'd like to say about this property? Any questions? Okay, if not, do I hear a motion to accept ordinance 2024-09?
I so move.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All right, any questions or concerns on this property before we move for a vote? Sherry, can you take the vote, please?
Yes, ma'am. Vice Mayor Clitus?
Yes.
Commissioner Carr?
Yes.
Commissioner Dembinski?
Yes.
Commissioner Thomas?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes, thank you. Okay, and next we're going to move on to ordinance 2024-10. Attorney Waters?
Thank you. This is our last ordinance this evening, item number 8C on the agenda, ordinance number 2024-10, an ordinance of the City of Daytona Beach Shores, Volusia County, Florida, relating to voluntary annexation of real property located at 110 Van Avenue, short parcel identification number 5334-02-05-0020, together with associated right-of-ways in accordance with section 171.044 Florida statutes, providing for legislative and administrative findings, redefining the boundaries of the city, providing for legal, effective, and implementing administrative actions, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for non-codification, and setting an effective date, and that was the second reading.
Thank you. Director?
Another voluntary annexation, this time for 110 Van Avenue, second reading. All statutory requirements have been met. Staff is recommending approval.
Okay, thank you. For my own well-being, is this the last time we'll hear these, or won't it be brought forward next time for what?
So this is second reading for the annexation into the city or into the corporate limits of the city. So what will happen next is we'll go through the procedural changes to the future land use map, which is in the comprehensive plan, and also a rezoning map, rezoning of the property. These are Florida statute requirements, and so sometime next month, I believe maybe the last meeting of next month, you'll be seeing on first reading the ordinance to change the zoning and the future land use map designation for these properties because it's a Florida statute requirement.
Thank you for that clarification. I felt like we hear them several times. And one other question before I ask for audience comments. These are all county properties that are annexing in. Has there ever been a time that somebody has asked for an annexation and the county has refused?
There was one to my recollection, I want to say 2008 or so, but the person at the county who wanted to battle the city on that is no longer at the county.
Okay, all right. I just wondered, it seems like we've been having a lot, and to let everyone know, we truly appreciate you loving our city so much like we do that you want to annex in. So, on this property at 110 Van Avenue, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on that? Okay, if not, do I have a motion to accept ordinance 2024-10?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All right. Any discussion? Sherry, can you take a roll on that, please?
Commissioner Dembinski?
Yes.
Commissioner Connell?
Yes.
Commissioner Cotton?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Price?
Yes.
Mayor Lo?
Yes, thank you. Okay, next we're going to go on to a new business, and this is an appointment to the Volusia County Interlocal Agreement, and I understand you're the expert on this as well?
I wouldn't say expert necessarily, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. This particular appointment is a requirement by the interlocal agreement for public school facilities here in Volusia County. So you may remember around 2003 or so, the city entered into this interlocal agreement. And the reason why the city and the county and the school district entered into this interlocal agreement is because there was a huge boom in development. That's when a lot of the mom and pops, at least on Beachside, where hotels were getting demoed and condos were going up. In Deltona and some of the other places west of the county, there was huge development going on. And it wasn't just Volusia County, it was all over the state of Florida and all over the United States. Essentially what was happening is that we were having new development and public school facilities, basically the schools where all these kids who are going to these new developments, they weren't matching. So basically you had a high influx of kids in a neighborhood or in a community, and the amount of chairs in a school basically weren't there. And so the interlocal agreement was essentially an effort by Volusia County to make sure they match. Basically it's called adequate public school facilities planning, or concurrency, some people call it. I know the city attorney might be familiar with that term. And essentially what the interlocal agreement wanted to ensure was that whenever there was a new development coming in line, that there was concurrent and adequate public school facilities for those new students that would be associated with that new development. So the other thing that the interlocal agreement called for was a technical coordinating committee and also an oversight committee. And so in the interlocal agreement, it calls for a non-staff member to represent the city at this oversight committee. And what the oversight committee does, and by the way, the oversight committee only meets once a year, maybe twice at max. What it does is essentially ensure that the cities, the county, and the school district are all abiding to the standards that are established in the interlocal agreement.
Okay, well, thank you very much for that. Question number one is, so it has previously been someone from the commission, we'll say from who, and does every city have this represented?
Every city has a representative. Now, whether or not every city representative shows up or not. I can tell you from the last meeting that I went to or attended virtually, not everyone was there, but generally there is participation at that level.
Okay, I'd like for someone from the shores. So right now, looking at this, trying to divide up the extra duties, I know that our vice mayor is going to TPO and Commissioner Card is doing our economic development. So that would lead Chris Kanamos and Stefan Dubinsky. And Chris, if you don't mind, I think Commissioner Dubinsky, or when it was Chief Dubinsky, had this role before, and I think he might be willing to take it again. Is that all right with you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, all right. Is that a correct statement?
That's a correct statement, and I'll be happy to. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Is that all we need, or do we need a vote?
I believe consensus, maybe?
As long as there's a consensus,
Does anyone else have a burning desire?
I'm sure Commissioner Dubinsky is going to do a great
Okay,
job.
great, all right. Then I think you have the vote here that you need. Thank you very much for stepping up to the plate on that. We appreciate it. Okay, all right, thank you. Oh, one other thing, and I don't know if this is out of line or not, but, we've missed our city planner, Noelle Eaton. We wish her the best. She went on to Ormond. Do you have any, maybe announcements that you'd want to make, and how is your search looking for a new city planner?
Yes, I was going to make that announcement.
Oh, I'm sorry
at the next meeting, but
I always
think
rush.
everyone knows generally that our former code enforcement officer has been promoted to the new planning position. And so I'm really ecstatic about that. And, she was actually holding over for me on many occasions. And even after Noelle left, she was helping out tremendously. And I think it's well-deserved, and I think she will do a great job.
Dr. Graham, sorry to steal your thunder. Will she be here with us at the next meeting?
I'm hoping so, yes.
Okay, I'm hoping so too. Thank you very much. So next, we'll go on to the city attorney comments. Do you have anything for us, Attorney Waters?
nothing to report, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thank you so much. City manager, what do you have for us this evening?
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. I only have one thing. I just would like to tell you about the training experience myself and some of the staff had the opportunity to attend last week. FEMA came into town and did a 4-day tabletop exercise out at the Volusia County EOC, and they proposed an exercise to simulate a building collapse similar to what happened in Surfside, and they staged it here at a fictitious address in the Shores. So we spent 4 days learning about the process of emergency management and how all the agencies operate. There were quite a few cities from Volusia County and a large portion of Volusia County there. We had 8 or 9 staff members there, and it was a great learning experience. I've heard nothing but positive reviews from our staff, and I think it will, hopefully we never need that experience, but it will translate to hurricanes and other incidents that we have here in the city, and I think our staff is well prepared for future events. Although they all provide different opportunities to learn, every hurricane is unique and everything, but it was a great experience, and I think it will serve our city well going forward.
Okay, I want to piggyback on this, so thank you. Everyone remembers how hard Daytona Beach Shores was hit in Ian and Nicole. I mean, we were devastated out there. So the county gave this opportunity. I believe you had FEMA, they talked about Surfside and all of that different things. And I'm so happy from just, talking to other mayors from other cities and other city managers. Ours were the only ones that were there consistently day in and day out. Now you can imagine Kurt took all of his management staff there, and they went through every one of the exercises. And they have a lot of work to do when they get back here too, but Kurt felt it was that important to have his entire staff there. And I know that all the lessons that they learned those 4 days they were there are going to be invaluable to our community. I just want to thank you very much for that leadership decision to do that. I was very, very proud, so thank you. One of the other things I wanted to ask you about, and I don't know if we want to do it now or not, or Do you want to say about the hours being changed for our community center, or do you want us to go on to?
You approved that under the consent,
Okay,
but
yeah, I would like.
Nancy.
Yeah, Nancy, can you just bring it up? I know we, just so people are aware.
Good evening, Madam Mayor. Yes, we made the decision to request approval to close the community center on Saturdays. We do have rentals on Saturdays, but on average, we get about 2 people that come. And so for staffing and everything else, it's just not cost effective. And we have been renting it out a lot on Saturdays, so
Great
it's
news.
easy for the staff too.
Okay, just wanted to make sure everyone in the community, I know we went over it on the consent agenda, just to know, this is what we did last year, and it wasn't that we made that decision hastily. We checked to see how many people were there on Saturday, and it was not cost effective to have anyone here. So we'll start that up again in October?
We'll see. I mean, because again, even in October, November, December is.
Oh, okay, all right, well, keep us updated on that. Okay. Do you have anything else for our city manager? Okay, thank you. Any questions for our attorney or city manager? Okay, if not, I am going to go on to commission comments. I have a lot to talk about, so I'm going to go over some dates too. So first of all, Attorney Waters, do we need just a consensus? Normally, we only have one meeting in July and one in August. Is that just a consensus? We can cancel those meetings? Can I bring that up now? Okay.
Yes.
All right, so the dates that I would like to talk about, and we normally do this every year, is we cancel one of the meetings in July and one in August. So I would like a consensus and an approval that we would have the 2 regular meetings in September. In July, we would cancel the first one, I believe it's the 13th. No, sorry, what was the first? 9th. The 9th. And then we would cancel August 13th's meeting and have that end one. Do I hear a consensus?
Sure.
In agreement?
I agree.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, the next thing that I want to go over is last week in Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I was in meetings in Destin, Florida, and Pensacola. And I think I've talked about this before. Our new president of Florida League of Mayors has a very big heart and for veterans and mental health. So we've been doing meetings around the state, just bringing in different mental health, veterans, just talking about sometimes that they overlap on some of the issues that they have. The meetings that they have had in the different cities I've gone to has really just been the mayors, and I want to make sure that everybody in our community knows about these meetings. So we have tentatively, was it July 26th? On July 26th, we are going to have a group come in from the veterans and also from a mental health, and this one's based out of Neptune Beach in Florida. And then Nancy also has made arrangements with Stuart Marshman to come in too. So we just, we're going to open it up to our city, to our residents, just to have some dialogue on it because, quite frankly, we had unfortunately a suicide in our public safety. We've had a couple of suicides here in the shores. I want to be able to get to these people before they've lost all hope. So if we can get any tools out of this, I think it would be quite worthwhile. So again, July 26th, you'll hear a lot more about it, but I was pleased to participate in that. And by the way, the Florida League of Mayors pays for me to go, so it's nothing on the city, if anyone's keeping track. So, the next thing is the concert. So we have a concert this Friday.
Microphone?
Mike is out.
26th. That was my elbow. The 26th, starting at 4:30, so come on out, we're gonna have the food trucks. A couple other things, next meeting on May 14th, we will have a workshop starting at 4:30. Workshops are available to all of our public, so if you'd like to come to that meeting starting at 4:30, you're more than welcome. Some of the other dates that I want to change is Coffee with the Mayor will be on May 15th. So that's actually the 3rd Wednesday of the month. And any of you that live in condos, I think it's gonna be especially pertinent for you to come. I have asked Attorney Vos to supply us with a condo specialist, if you were. So we have an attorney, is it Getz? Gantz, that will come and speak with us. So he is gonna be talking about the reserve studies. Hopefully, any of you that live in condos, you know what I'm talking about. Just going around asking, I think we're in pretty good shape, but I could not let that go by without making sure that our residents know about the reserve study, what milestones there are. Want everyone to keep in mind, the city is not going to offer any legal opinions. You need to go to your condo attorney for that, but he will at least be giving you an overview of what you should be doing by which dates. There's some changes from the initial when it rolled out, so I want to make sure we all know about that. So again, that will be May 15th. And then as far as Coffee with the Mayor, I want to give you advance notice. As we did last year, when our snowbirds go away on vacations, we don't get a lot of participation. So we will have on June 12th, if you write this down so we keep it straight, that's the one that we, instead of Coffee with the Mayor in the morning, we do it coffee, snacks, during whatever it is. But we're going to do that at 5 p.m. on June 12th, upstairs in the community center like we always do. And what that meeting is about, this is very important to me that you know on the staff who is there to help you. So we'll, I'll go over a couple of the announcements. Kurt will again introduce his staff and what they're responsible for. And I think this year what we're going to do is have tables set up. So if you know there's something for Stuart that you need, you're gonna go to his table. Are you gonna have goodies at your table? Little giveaways? Okay, giveaways at the table. We might have a little stamp thing that if you go to all the tables, we're gonna do something fun like we always do. But it's so important for me that you say, okay, this is the issue that I have. Who in the city is going to help me with that? So that's going to help there. So after that June meeting, we will not have Coffee with the Mayor in July or August, and we'll resume again in September. So who's keeping me straight, City Manager? Is that all of the different changes that we talked about?
I believe so.
Okay, I think so. We'll go over them again. And the last thing I want to talk about is May 18th. Is Armed Forces Day. As you know, that's one of our big celebrations of our armed forces that we do here in the Shores. We kind of low-keyed on Veterans Day, Memorial Day, but on Armed Forces, and we are so pleased to know that our guest speaker that day will be Hal Kushner. If any of you know him, he has a wonderful story that I can't wait to hear again. So please come, and Nancy, will it be a barbecue lunch afterwards? Barbecue lunch afterwards, but you have to stay to listen to the speaker. You just can't come straight for the meal. Anyway, all right, so I think those are all of the things that I wanted to talk about. So Vice Mayor, can we go on to you?
Sure. Are we a purple city? Aren't we a
Yes, we
purple
are.
city?
We
Okay.
are.
I did a charity ride for motorcycles this past Saturday, and it was for veterans, and I actually got a veteran to ride with me. His name was Manny. He was from the Army, and I learned all about ESDs, what are they, emotional support dogs. And so I got his information. I'll give it to our city manager, but then I did a charity ride a couple of weeks before that for St. Jude's that benefited the veterans. And they have, I mean, we have a significant veteran support community, very active. But he was happy to hear, I told him, I said, we're a purple city, and he was pretty impressed. Tomorrow I'm going to that Transportation Planning Organization meeting at the airport. I read the agenda and I went through some of the stuff. Nothing exciting, but we'll see what comes of it. And then lastly, I'm following in Commissioner Lindauer's footsteps, and I'm walking a lot because I need to lose some weight. I'm too chubby. Anyway, be that as it may, the sidewalks are so clean, and the law enforcement, I guess, really keeps an eye on people because there's not a lot of speeders. But I got to tell you, we've cleaned up a lot since the storms, because when the storms were, it was kind of dangerous walking on the sidewalks. But I think all the condominiums have really stepped up taking care of their properties because they're all very pristine. A lot of the sand is, has been cleaned up and stuff. It's just, it's it's a pleasure to walk up and down A1A and see, you have pride. It's a wonderful thing that everyone has really stepped up, and I think that's why we all enjoy being here. But yes, everything seems to be in pretty good shape, and I'll report back when I go to my TPO meeting tomorrow.
Thank you, and thank you for representing us on that. And if I could piggyback on that, I was at a meeting last night, and when someone found out I was the mayor of Daytona Beach Shores, they came up to me and said, I live in Daytona, beachside in Daytona. What can we do to make Daytona beachside look like Daytona Beach Shores beachside? I just know the difference when I'm leaving where I'm at to go there. And, I just said, first of all, the underground utilities. I mean, that makes all the difference in the world. But then I said, the commitment of the public workers that we have here that take pride in keeping it nice and clean, and officers, you keeping us safe, so it doesn't go unnoticed. When someone comes to me and said, what can we do to make us look like you? I mean, it was a sense of pride, and it takes all of us, all of the staff, and everyone working together. So, yes, I wholeheartedly agree, Vice Mayor. Commissioner Economist?
No comments.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Card?
No comment.
Okay. Commissioner Dubinsky?
No comment.
Wow, we're getting off easy tonight. Okay, we are going to go on to audience comments. I have a form from Barbara Ann Hagan, who is with our Port Orange Chamber. If you'd like to come up, please.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and Commissioners. I would like to thank you, Mayor Miller, as well as the City Manager, Kurt Swartzlander, the Public Safety Director, Michael Fowler, the Community Economic Development Director, Nancy Maddox, as well as City Commissioner Chris Honamos for attending our Power Networking Luncheon on April 11th. That was addressing the opioid epidemic and our new initiative to be a workforce-friendly recovery environment as we help people under active recovery try to find employment. And we are partnering with our Volusia Recovery Alliance to bring this program to you. Our next steps are we have a committee meeting coming up on May 1st. But also we have a job fair that we are partnering with the City of Port Orange, but we open it to all of our cities to participate on Thursday, May 16th. It will be at the Rec Center, and this job fair is for graduating high school seniors as well as the general public. We want to see people back to work. We are hearing over and over again from our small businesses to our major employers that they need workers. And we have the talent, so we need to connect the dots and get people back to work, and having this job fair will allow that opportunity to take place. And finally, we just want to make you aware again that A Tasteful Affair is happening this Thursday. We have 15 of our local restaurants participating. We have 130 people signed up. It's just a great way to showcase our wonderful restaurants. Thank you so much.
Barbara, and before you go back, can you tell us again, I know it's a privilege for me to be asked to take part in the youth conference again this year. Can you tell me, did you get everyone you needed for enrolled in that? And tell us just real quickly what that is.
Absolutely. So for us to be able to do this youth conference, it takes place in early June, and we have over 22 students that have applied. It's just outstanding to be able to get them to civically be open-minded to the opportunities here in our community, as well as connect them to our local leaders. So very similar to our adult leadership program, that's also going to be kicking off here. We have our first planning meeting. It will be actually here April 30th. So we're very excited for those opportunities, and thank you for participating.
Oh, I'm honored. Yeah, it's nice to meet the youth. I always tell them in a couple of years you're going to be sitting in my seat. They love it. So thank you very much for coming this
Thank you so much.
All right, and then the next one that I have is John Dennis. Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners, thanks for letting me speak. John Dennis, 2837 South Atlantic Avenue, also 2009 South Atlantic Avenue. I just want to bring up a concern for the Commission to consider. If you, I think, have all heard about the Form 6 challenge that has been proposed to the state leadership teams, and it hits the city, the communities, and the counties around the state. It's very obvious to me that We've had some transition even here and in other places of the state because of this Form 6. In our small community, we have a very small, limited amount of citizens, especially even citizens that live here full-time. So our talent pool of leadership is very limited. And so my concern going forward, and even myself, who's maybe considered doing something leadership-wise, the Form 6 kind of stood me back. I'm concerned about that, and I'm concerned about opportunities for the leadership team to either continue or have to step down. So I'd like the commission to actually consider some different things. Our talent pool needs to be recognized. Our voice of the citizens needs to be a responsibility of the citizens. So we have an opportunity as citizens to choose to go forward with leadership or change leadership. We have that responsibility as the citizens of the community. That exists, it will continue to exist, it always exists. And right now there's certain regulations that prevent our voices to be heard. And so I think you can take advantage of at least considering the concern that we have. So I'll give you an example. If I were to go to a doctor or a surgeon and I had a bad situation going on, I think I would like to look at who's done the most and has done operations over and over and over, maybe has a couple of 100 operations behind their belt, rather than maybe saying, you know what, I'd like to go to these folks that might have be the first challenge for this particular doctor. So the fact that our leadership team might go through some challenges, learn some things, and be able to lead us through certain situations, I think is a huge asset to the community, and might be wasted if regulations aren't maybe considered in a different way.
Okay, well, thank you very much for coming forward today. We appreciate it. Okay, I don't have any forms from anyone else, but as I always do, is there anyone in the audience that has anything else that Bob, if you'd like to come up?
If I can make it.
When you get up, we need your address.
Yes. Thank you, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners. I'm Bob Robacker. I live with my wife, Anita, in Oceans Grand for 16 years. We've been owners of Florida property in Volusia County since 1999. I've lived in many communities, small communities around the country as I worked for a big company. And the last part of my career, I was an owner of a business. Actually, I'm going to tag on to John. I didn't realize that he was going to speak about Form 6. I will be a little more direct than John or anybody else probably. I think it's terrible. We've lost people. My good Marine friend Mel should still be up there. If I were to run for any of your offices, I would not accept Form 6. It's none of anybody's business what I own over $1,000. So I just, hopefully something can be done. It's just not fair. I actually checked with the Volusia County, and the second thing I wanted to talk about was term limits. And we're the most restrictive city in Volusia County with term limits. And I think that's something that hopefully you can look into. We want what's best for the shores. We love living here. We plan on living here. My next step is, but we love the shores. We want what's best for the shore. So if something can be done about the Form 6 and also the term limits, we'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. Appreciate you coming up. Is there anyone else that wants to speak on anything? Let's do Ann first, and then Gary.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. I'm Ann Martirano, and I'm here representing the Port Orange South Daytona Chamber of Commerce, proud member of the board of directors there. And I just wanted to thank you for your continued support of our chamber and of having an office here in your town. And we are doing everything we can to make that an important and vital part of your community, and be assured that we talk and think about this every day, and we're going to do everything we can to give value to your community and be there for you. And I also want to, on behalf of my other life with Halifax Health, I want to thank you for your mental health support with veterans and the programs that you have coming up. Obviously, that's a very important part for all of us, and if we can be a part of that, we would love to be.
Love to have you.
So we can talk further about that maybe. And also, I want to thank you for your work with the youth and the leadership group, because I don't know, Vice Mayor and I went to school together back in the day, and I don't know if you feel the same way, but when I was going to school, most people left. They left because there weren't a lot of careers here and there weren't a lot of things for them to do. And I think these kinds of programs teach our youth that there are important things to do in our community, and to stay here and make it a great community. So thank you for that, and we would love to help in any way we can.
Thank you so much. Nancy, will you make sure that Ann and Barbara Ann get on that for the 26th? Thank you. Gary, I think you're next.
I'm Gary Bucock, and live next door in Oceans Grand, and I've been following what's been said here by John and Bob, and I wanted to just add a little something kind of personal that maybe put some perspective on it. I spent 25 years with Kroger and moved 14, this is my 14th residence. So I moved. And usually I moved to a pretty good sized city, but I'm a little boy from South Dakota, you know, there's no such thing as a big city there. So I didn't like big cities, I'd always get in the suburbs. And then usually I would get involved on some level, you know, with the city. My favorite thing was running all the blood drives for the community. But I would get involved, but I wouldn't get on the commission because I never knew how long I was going to be there. So as time goes on and you see these cities, especially the small towns, struggling with leadership because, number one, they get older, and if you know anything about South Dakota, that pretty soon they become nothing. You know, they're gone. But more likely, you know, around here is they tend to shrink. Population that's going to have enough energy and et cetera to help is aging out, and now we got Form 6. So this pool, let's see, we got about 5,000 people here, I think, and the pool probably at max is maybe 2,500 people, I'm guessing. And now with 6, just like Bob and John and a few other people, I wouldn't serve on the board. That's nobody's business. And my son, who retired from the VA, was caught up in the PERS dilemma where they got into the federal personnel files. It took him a year and a half to straighten out all the damage they did to him. So I'll be darned if I'm going to let, you know, my data be with some government agency that might get broken into, and guess what? You know, I'm going to go through what my son went through. So I'm personally dead against that Form 6, and I want to encourage the city to try to, you know, involve the people as much as they can, and get as many people as we can from what is a kind of a small group. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anyone else? Mel? Commissioner Landauer, I'm still going to call you that.
Bill Lindauer, 2958 Seal Circle, Daytona Beach Shores, Florida, 32118. I'd like to pick up on something that my friend Bob mentioned, and that's term limits. I think that finding leadership, especially now, good leadership with Form 6 chasing so many people away and keeping people from running, I think that we have to, as was mentioned, we have a limited pool of qualified people that are willing to run. I think when we get good people, that we need to keep those people in office. And term limits are a problem that I think need to be addressed. We currently have 2 term limits, and it is the most restrictive in Volusia County. I think we need to do something about it, and I looked into it and found out that just three of you people can change the term limits. So I think that is the way to do it without paying the expense of going through an election, because I think the people all agree that we want good leadership. If we don't want you in office, we'll vote you out. But in the meantime, you should not be automatically voted out by a term limit. So I strongly suggest that maybe at the next meeting or somewhere, you might have a workshop, whatever you want to do, to consider voting on this issue to extend the term limits with a vote of 3 of you. I think the majority would probably agree with it, maybe all 5. But I strongly suggest that we do something about it. You can determine how you want to change it. Do you want 3 term limits, or do you want 3 terms? Do you want 4 terms? Do you want no terms? That would be up to you to discuss. And I think that at any meeting that you had, when you're discussing what you want to do, the people can come up and they can say, no, I don't want this, or yes, I like that. But I do think that we need to keep good leadership once we have it and not run you out of office just because you run up against a term limit. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so, if I can talk for a little bit, first of all, we'd love to do away with Form 6. There is cities across the state that have a lawsuit against it. I'm going to be very honest, it doesn't look like it's going away. So Form 6 is going to be there, so if someone, decides that they want to run at this time, Form 6 would have to be filled out. So just a little correction on the term limits are in our charter. So by a vote of 3, we can put it on the ballot not for us to decide, that's for you to decide what you want to do. So I just want to make sure you know it takes 3 of us to say, yes, we want a charter change, but then it will go to the ballot. So talking about going to the ballot, we will have a primary this year as well as a regular election. If we put a charter change on that, to my knowledge, we will not have to pay anything. Correct? Correct, okay. If we would decide to make a charter change next year because we won't have anything coming up in 2025, there would be a cost to the city. It would be probably about $10,000, and I would not support that. As far as the word's term limits, I would never, like right now, Daytona has no term limits. I don't believe in that whatsoever. I think what we need to do is change our term limits. So again, and that's a vote by the people. A couple of the things, and again, this is Nancy Miller speaking, I am not speaking from the city. I came into office and I did not have any time up on the commission. It was a hard learning experience. I hope that I've done okay. But what is the ideal situation, and what normally happens in most cities is that people serve 1-2 years, usually 2 years on the commission, then they move up to mayor. Because of the restrictions that we have, we cannot have that. So we cannot have experienced commissioners move up after they're done later on in life because of the way we have it. I think several people have said here that it's the most restrictive in Volusia County. Why? Why a small city like Daytona Beach Shores do we have that? And we can go back years ago and look for the history, but what we have to decide is what we want to do going forward. So, Attorney Waters, I don't want your opinion, I just want you to state facts. Or have you heard of other cities across the state that are having problems getting talent because of resignations due to Form 6? Or can you talk about facts on term limits?
2 things. The litigation for Form 6, there's federal litigation and there's state litigation. And Madam Mayor, you're correct, it's not going to go away. Unfortunately, you're probably going to have to do it in July. So those lawsuits will probably take a while to work their way through the courts.
And once the information's out there, I mean, it's really the first year that I don't want to do it. Actually, year 2, 3, and 4.
It's very intrusive, and it is a problem across the state, and there have been resignations across the state and on this very commission because of the intrusiveness of the Form 6. So fingers crossed, let's hope that these lawsuits prevail. One is filed in Tallahassee and against the state of Florida. One's in federal court. It's a First Amendment challenge. State court will probably go a lot faster than the federal court, but fingers crossed, we'll get some traction. As far as term limits, if I may speak on that, that would require a charter amendment, which is a two-step process. The first step, and this is all laid out in the charter, by the way. The first step would be to introduce an ordinance to the commission, and there would be a first and second reading. And once the ordinance is adopted by the commission, then, as you said, it's placed on a ballot. In this case, it would be, I think, the primary that's coming up in August. So if we move fast, we have time to get it on the primary in August. So by move fast, I mean, it would probably be a good idea to have something on the next agenda. What I would recommend would be maybe several agenda items. Maybe agenda item number 1 would be discussion of term limits, discussion of changing the charter. Agenda item number 2 would be a draft ordinance that perhaps maybe gives you 3 terms. Agenda item number 3 would be a draft ordinance that perhaps gives you 4 terms, or whatever you would decide. We could give you a couple of different ordinances. So it is doable, and if there is a consensus, we can move forward.
Do we have a consensus at least to put it on the agenda for next meeting?
Yes.
Commissioner Dubinsky?
This is very difficult for me because unfortunately I have 25 years of memory in the city and what happened. And while the Form 6 discussion is extremely worrying to me also, the fact is that the voters of the city went to a charter amendment. It was a long, drawn-out arguing in the council for many meetings as to what was going to be on the charter. I remember it was an overwhelming vote to bring in the term limits. I just hesitate to say that I would support council going against what a vast majority of the citizens voted for. However many years it was, we voted for the term limits before you got here, Mayor. However, I do understand everything that you folks have said, and I agree with a lot of it. However, there is a procedure, and I don't know what it is, where a citizen's petition could be brought in to change the charter. And I was just thinking of this. I know that every city and every county has a citizen's petition opportunity. I would have to defer to the attorney. I don't know anything about it. But I would almost rather support something from the citizens. And I heard from your applause that you do support it, that folks that are here. I just remember it was a very, very difficult, I sat in another chair at the time as a public safety director. It was a very difficult procedure. And it was meeting after meeting trying to get something coherent to bring to the voters. And what came out was this two-term limit. But I would almost rather see a citizen's petition to tell us that the citizens of this community want this back on the ballot. And now that's my point. I understand everything. I have no objections to changing it. I just don't feel that it's proper for us to bring that back to the citizens again. After, I don't even know how many years ago it was, because I think, Stuart, do you remember?
It's been at least 7 years since it's been on there. So I think because we've heard from some of the citizens, and I'm hoping if the word gets out that they come on the next one and we can make our decision. But I think we owe it to them. You know, we're not going to make the decision on the change of the term limits. They are, but they should have the opportunity and hear all the facts. And the facts are, I don't feel like they understand everything that's come out. I don't think they understand why Daytona Beach Shores of, well, I don't know, Attorney Waters in other, I'm saying we're speaking for Volusia County that it's the most stringent. Can you tell me a little bit about the rest of the state of Florida? With me being in the Florida League of Mayors, again, it's the most restrictive.
Every city does it a little different. but your ordinance is very restrictive. It is one of, I think, one of the more restrictive ordinances.
So I want to give our residents the opportunity to know all the facts. All we're going to do is give them the opportunity to vote again. They're going to be voting there anyway. It's not going to be anything else that's going to be on them except to look again for the facts. So, Mel, did you?
Mel Lindar again. One suggestion I would make is, in considering the change the definition in the charter of a term. A term can be 6 years, so you could stick with 2 terms, but make it 2 terms of 6 years. I mean, that's something to consider, where people aren't feeling that you're extending this thing way out in terms of numbers, because a term is defined as more than half a term in the charter. So if somebody serves, like it gets an appointment and serves 2 months in 1 day, that's a term, and now they only have 1 term left. So if we can define a term as 6 years and get rid of the definition in the charter at the same time of a term is maybe 3 years or 4 years or something, so that somebody doesn't get termed out by only serving 2 years in 1 day.
Okay.
So 6 years, I think, would be nice at 2 terms. At 6 years, I mean, that's something to consider.
And I think you were going to give us that choice on there. So a commissioner card, and again, this is not to vote for this. This is just doing a charter change to put it on the ballot for our residents to decide.
I'd like to just think about it a little bit. I'm not ready to.
No, you don't have to vote. This is just to put it on. So, I'm sorry, Attorney Waters, so if the commissioner thinks about it and decides at that time it's a no, he just doesn't vote for any of them. This is just.
That's exactly right. You don't have to make a decision tonight. This is just making a decision to discuss it at the next meeting.
All right.
And then you can say no if you like the next meeting, after hearing all the public comment and comment from the dais.
I'm willing to have that dialogue.
Thank you. I'm willing to have it.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, where are we at?
Madam Mayor, excuse
Yes,
me.
certainly.
Kate Dennis wanted to say something.
Oh, Kate, come on up. Thank you, I'm so sorry.
I'm Kate Dennis from 2837 Southwest Atlantic Avenue. My husband, John Dennis, already spoke. As the head of the household until he gets home.
I don't think he heard you.
But just listening to the discussion, my heart really prompts me to say something. I want to tell all of you how precious this moment is that I am actually allowed to stand here and voice my thoughts. And I grew up in a foreign land. I have to say my parents, if they know I'm here standing here today speaking to the mayor and the vice mayor and the commissioner and everyone, they would think I must became a rock star. Because where I grew up, we as little citizens, we do not have a voice. My parents never voted their whole entire life, and they're 90 years old. So I treasure the freedom and the right, the privilege that I have to vote. And I know many brave men and women died for this, and they every day give their life so I can be here today. So what inspired me to come up to say is, I would like to ask all of you to consider to give the citizens the freedom, the right to make our vote. Because I believe that if anyone here that are serving, you're all here serving us, which is another concept that I'm not familiar with, grew up in another country, because usually we're ruled. So we have to live under rules and the regulations. and we don't speak even if we don't like it. So here today, I have this moment that I can actually voice. If I say, I think you are a great leader, and I really think that besides, like my husband said, going to the hospital, I want to have the right to pick the best doctor, not because the rules and the regulations forbids me from that freedom to choose. Well, same thing here, because my home is second most important thing other than my health. So all of you are the reason why life is better in the shores. All of you are the reason I really don't want to move anywhere else. I want to live here. So changing the leadership and not be able to choose who I really believe in, I can see with my own eyes that are doing a great job for all of us citizens, is a bit concerning to me. So what I think I'm asking for is for all of you just to consider, give us this freedom, give us this right, let our voice matter. And it's a privilege and I honor it, and I would do the best of my responsibility to really make my most educated choices, which means I've been hearing this word term limits. I know a lot of times maybe people are concerned, oh, if someone stays in power for many years, will there be issues and will they abuse their privileges? Well, then you know what? The little me have the right to vote that person out, right? We already have that right to vote the person out. So give me that freedom. Give me that freedom, give all the citizens that freedom to vote. So I guess I'm asking for all of you to allow this at least to be an issue that the citizens can say, okay, well maybe we should or maybe we shouldn't, versus allow the rules and the regulations to control what we can or cannot do.
I think that was so well spoken. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, so we're moving into our agenda items, so we'll have that on the next agenda. Is there anything else we need to add to the agenda for next month? Okay, reminder, we're going to have the workshop that's going to start at 4:30. For those of you who have been around for a while, and our IT director has assured me this wouldn't happen. Normally when we stop a workshop and start it again, we have issues. Chris, are you down there? Okay, so I got the assurance that that's not going to happen, but we're going to have a hard stop at 5:45. So the workshop will be from 4:30 to 5:45, so Chris can get everything ready, and we can start the council meeting at 6, commission meeting like we normally do. Excuse me?
What's the workshop?
What are we going to talk about? The topic that we had talked about previously was that Volusia County have not voted on it yet, but it looks very strongly that they're going to start to have paid for parks. So like Frank Rendon and Peck, you have to pay to park there. We own a couple of parks in the city, so we want to know, do we want to piggyback off of them? So that will be the main discussion. But remember, at a workshop, we can talk about anything we want. The public is invited. It is open. So if there's no other items, then the meeting's